They are called the night owls. Night owls have been burning the midnight oil and pushing the boundaries of mankind for thousands of years. According to mainstream scientists, some of the most revolutionary philosophers, artists, and engineers are believed to be night owls. However, over the last century, the invention of assembly lines, cubicles, and middle management gave birth to a new type of species, the early birds. Early birds are not interested in knowledge, nor have any passion in their work, but they do have a strong survival instinct. They adapt quickly. As they hone their social skills and become masters in brown-nosing, they make their way to the top of the food chain. Today, only a small number of night owls live amongst these early birds, and more have been lost by the hour. As night owl population declines, these rare species are forced to assimilate inside the nest of early birds during the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. But at night, it's a different story. On the verge of extinction, few of the remaining night owls start a revolution by building a new nest and begin recruiting the other survivors. Over the next few years, more night owls came from all over the world to join their fight. This is a place where they are recognized for their knowledge and passion, rather than how early they get up in the morning. A place where they can be themselves. A place they can call home. But this is only the beginning. Only time will tell what's ahead for the survival of this endangered species as they embark on a journey to rise against the early birds.
Every week I read your stories, and every week I feel like I'm getting to know you better and better.
I'm going to start off with probably one of the most embarrassing stories.
This is one story that has kept me going.
I have a story from a few hours ago.
But I want to share a story that has to do with something else.
The story I'd like to share is one from when I was 10 years old.
I had a difficult time coming up with a memory that is not uncomfortable for people to read.
I held on to that for so long. I think I'm like more emotional because of hearing everybody's stories.
I really relate to Nikki because there's a lot from my past that I don't want to remember. Like, I don't want to bring it up because it's just horrible.
Really amazing just hearing the stories. I think I have a similar epiphany.
So similar thing happened to me this week.
It actually came from Hamza, who was in my previous small group.
That's the part that has to do with my ego because I'm afraid that they'll reject us.
What I learned is that in every story we can grab some very great universal teachings.
The thing I learned this week that was huge for me was I was trying to tell stories that were too big.
I think me being more vulnerable, me being myself is actually like a negative point about myself. That is something I realized.
The lesson for me was sometimes our limiting beliefs are so big in our head that we are our own worst enemy. And that's my share.
That's the story.
That's my story.
That's my story.
Practice storytelling, practice connecting the dots, but most importantly, just come back next week. And that's all I ask. And then we'll go from there.
Next week. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great week, guys.
Oh, were you filming?
Yo.
Yeah.
This is how we wind down after a long Thursday.
It's Thursday?
All right.
Jesus. Fast week, yo. Fast week.
I don't know about in any other country, but at least in the United States, if you just fucking do the bare minimum, you will fucking win. You actually have to go from victim to realizing that you're a villain in someone else's story. And that's what's gonna trigger you to take the responsibility to become a hero.
For us today, and we will leave you with a I can't do it. We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live! Fucking thing sucks!
5, 4, 3.
Welcome everyone to Authentic as Fuck. Hey y'all, I'm reading all your chats, so if you have a question for me, just put it in the chat. If you want me to review anything, if you want me to review your story, your post, or anything like that, your website or design, just put the link in the chat. Okay, so I think today, unless you guys want to see something else, or if you have question, I'm happy to answer them. So put the questions in there. Otherwise, what I'm gonna do is I want to make a carousel. Here's what I'm planning on doing. Here's the grand plan. So we're launching Night Owl Nation, the new Night Owl Nation, in September 1st. And I'm working with Rohani to work on the churn rate. So our goal is to get the churn rate down to 0, so that once somebody joins, like, here's the thing, the promise that I want to make to our members is that when you join Night Owl Nation, we're going to do everything everything we can possibly imagine to make sure you're going to succeed, right? That's kind of like the message. So in order to do that, we put together a lot, like we're doing a lot of little things like that we've tried and what work and what doesn't work. And Rohani is going to document this journey for 6 months on our Instagram of all the things that we're testing, we're trying. So if you have if you're running an online course business, or if you're running on membership, any kind of subscription model business, or any kind of business where retention is important, right? Like, this is for you. Because here's the thing, right? If you're making, if you're selling educational products or something like that, if you're selling a course or coaching program or something, once somebody learns the thing from you, they really don't need you anymore. So that's why, a lot of the value is kind of front-loaded up front. That's why, in order to have a successful membership, so some sort of a retention business, you need something where they're gonna keep coming back, right? Okay. So she's gonna document the journey. So what I'm gonna do is I want to make a carousel that membership owners and online course creators see, and they're gonna go follow Rohani so that they can watch the journey of how she works on our community, our Night Owl Nation membership. That is the goal. So what is the retention gonna be about? All right, let me share my screen. Okay, Gloria asked the question, actually. I have a question about storytelling. Let me see if I can put it up in here, actually. Oh, yeah. I have a question about storytelling. I know it's a dumb one, but how does storytelling help you sell your product, or is it to establish yourself as an authority to create credibility? Good question. Okay. Story by itself doesn't sell product. I think this is what people need to understand. Let me see if I can answer this without confusing you. Stories don't, how people always say facts tell, stories sell. No, stories don't sell. Okay. Copywriting sells. And there's a difference between copywriting and storytelling, right? The whole purpose of storytelling is, Robert McKee, he's the author of Story, which is the Bible of writing screenplays. He said that story is the currency of relationships. So storytelling is to build relationship, to build a brand with your audience. It's not going to sell. If you want to sell, you need to learn copywriting. And sometimes you can use storytelling in copywriting, but these are very specific stories. It's the type of stories that you see in the webinars, right? You're I was like, hey, are you trying to have you been trying to lose 30 pounds forever? And every time you get close, like you get to 20 pounds and then you're going right back and blah, blah, blah. Well, I was there. And like telling a story like that, that's like part of that's a part of a sales script. I wouldn't really call that storytelling, right? So actually this week's email I'm going to talk about that on Thursday. I'm going to send out an email that talks about specifically about copywriting and how it's different from storytelling. So watch out for that. Okay. My business depends so much on retention, even though it is product. Yeah. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter whether every business depends on retention. Okay. Imagine like you own a restaurant and people only come to your restaurant one time and they never come back. Like, how is that business going to stay in business? Like, that's actually what you want. You want a retention business, right? You don't want a business where you have to constantly get new customers, constantly get new audience, because every time you have to reach a brand new audience, that costs money, whether it's in ad dollars or hours you have to spend on content or whatever. Like, whenever you have to go reach completely brand new strangers, that costs money, right? Or time or whatever resource. That costs resource. Okay? So that's why once you've gotten the eyeball and you've sold them, the goal is to keep reselling it to that person. That's the best business, because then you have no cost. Once you've gotten them in the door, there's zero cost now. You can keep reselling. And that is the beauty of a retention business, right? Okay. Okay, Sam, I have a question too, actually. 2 messages. Okay. Let me see if I can put this up on the stream. You said I don't need to know everything before creating, but could gaps in my knowledge experience show up in my articulation that affect how prospects perceive my competence? Okay, this is the second part. How do I create now without damaging the credibility I'm building for consulting? What can I do to manage this risk? Example, a leader perceiving me as incompetent and influencing other decision makers. Okay, the first thing I want to ask you is, do you see as an expert? Here's the thing, right? Expertise is a spectrum. It's not like, oh, you cross this line and now you're expert and you're not. That's not how it works, right? It's a spectrum. So no matter how much of an expert you are, there will always be somebody who's more of an expert than you. So that is literally never going to change. Okay. So the question, it's not really a question. So I guess here's what I would do. I guess that's the best way to put it. Here's what I would do, or this is what I have done. I'm not really worried about being wrong at all. And you might not know this, but the more expert you are, the more they're going to consider you an expert once you admit to something that you are wrong about. There's nothing that says I'm an expert more than, oh, hey, 2 months ago I said this, but I've been thinking about it and I've been doing some blah, 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 and I'm actually, I'm actually wrong. I'm going to correct that. Like, the truth is, blah, 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 right? Myth. Like, that's literally what we're practicing in Night Owl Nation, right? How to do myth truth, right? So as long as you're completely honest, here's the thing about being the honest part, right? Here's the thing about, okay, this is for everybody who wants to build a personal brand authentically, right? You have to go all or nothing. You can't do authenticity halfway. Like, if you do authenticity halfway, that's basically that's same as not doing it all, right? You can't even do it 90%. You can't even do it 99%. If you're gonna be honest, brutally honest, and rigorously authentic, you have to do it 100% or not at all. That's the thing. So with my clients, I'm always the first one. Like, 9 out of 10 questions they ask me, my answer is always like, oh, I don't know. Let me look into that. Does that make sense? I like Sam, put in the chat if this makes sense at all. and if it doesn't, I'll keep going. Sandra, I have having accountability shows we're an expert. I love it. Yeah. And that's it. That's kind of how it goes. Like the higher you go, like a CEO of a $1 billion company are actually going to respect you as more of an expert, right? But the solopreneur is the one who's gonna trash you and be like, eh. The solopreneur, the nobodies, the ones that are not successful at all, they're always like the biggest haters. They're the ones that are gonna be like, yeah, well, not necessarily. Actually, you're wrong about that. And they're gonna, and so when somebody does that, don't even argue with them, right? It's like gaps can show up as okay, didn't consider this before. Yeah, that's what I mean. And that happens to me literally every week. It happens to me literally every week in front of my employees. It happens to me in front of my clients. It happens to me in front of you guys. Literally every week, there's something I didn't know or something I was a bit wrong about that I have to correct myself on. Literally every week. You know what that means? That means I'm smart. That means I learn from my mistake. That means every week I'm getting smarter instead of fucking staying the same fucking like, well, what are you gonna do? Once you fucking make up a mind and you say something, you're never gonna change your mind at all? No. Right? I hate it when people don't admit a mistake on their own, especially obvious ones. Yeah, exactly. That actually makes you look more of an amateur. Not sure why it's not letting us log in through Night Owl Nation. Is it yeah, hey Farah. Yeah, so Riverside is kind of like not a good experience. It's like kind of messed up. That's why we're like, let's just everybody go to YouTube. Michael Jordan said he missed more shots than anyone. And he had been losing nearly 300 games. That's exactly what makes him go. Exactly. There you go. Okay, I hope that was helpful. Okay, let's talk about retention, baby. All right. We'll do this. I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Sam, I hope that helps. And yeah. The ultimate confidence is actually humility. There you go. Okay. Yeah, so we're putting together all this process, basically very tight process that we're going to use to get people to retain so people don't leave, right? One of the things that I'm going to do, okay, here. So you guys, last week I talked about StoryBank. So if you don't know, StoryBank is what we use in Night Owl Nation to keep track of all of our stories. So every time we have a story idea, we add it in here and then we work on it, right? So here's an idea that I added last week about Super Mario. And the way I got to this idea is through another story here, what Tetris can. So I was telling a story about Tetris and how my dad fucking can't play Super Mario because like my dad is like a boomer and it's too complex for him. But then when Tetris came out, he started playing it right away and he got hooked right away, right? Because Tetris is such a simple game that you don't need instruction. But Super Mario is not. And here's this is the freaking. Okay, I'm not gonna go into it yet. Let me read the chat. Oh, you missed access? Gigi, can you just put in the chat? It's just sunE.co/storybank. sunE.co/storybank. Okay. So basically, how I got this idea right here is I was watching this documentary called Indie Games, and they were talking about game design, and they started talking about like Super Mario, right? How brilliant of a game design it was. We can add them in the story bank. Oh, Sam, don't worry about it yet. I'm gonna have so many assignments for you guys starting from September. You're gonna have unlimited story ideas, so don't even worry about that. Yeah, can you let me just put the link on the, since everybody's asking for it. Here. There's the link to the story bank. Just click on that. It's a Notion template. Oh, why is it not working? Is it working? Can you guys click on that link to see if it works? It should work. If not, you know what? I'll do this. Try this one. Oh, shit. That's not the right link. Let me remove that one. Yeah, the second link was not actually the right link. See if this one works. So when you click on that link, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Notion, but after you click on that link, you actually have to duplicate that page. Just like use it as a template, right? Okay, let's go. Okay. Yeah, so because of that story, that reminded me of this story where here's the thing. In 1990, when Super Mario first came out, or 1989 or whatever it is, it was such a revolutionary game of that kind, right? That I don't know what do you call that kind of game, but because a lot of people were not used to this type of game where a player just goes through the screen and like goes through like an adventure, like goes through a map, because people are not used to this type of game. The game actually had to train the user while they're playing level 1. So the level 1 of the game is specifically designed in a way that it's going to teach the player how to play the game. Does that make sense? And I thought when I was watching that part of the documentary, I just thought it was so fucking brilliant, because it's like how usability works on an app, right? Like when we design an app or when we design a website, like we really need to think about it from a perspective of a complete stranger coming to the app or coming to the website, and what's like the next step is going to take. And we kind of have to like handhold them through the whole process, right? Otherwise they're going to get overwhelmed and leave. Now, when I was thinking about this, like the reason why I put it in here is because the reason why somebody joins your membership and then leaves after okay, the number one reason why people leave membership, including my membership, is overwhelm. So I think us as a membership owner or course creator, we're like, oh my gosh, I want to teach him this. I want to teach them this. I want to teach this. I want to give him this. I want to give him this. I want to give him the challenge. I want to give him quiz. I want to give him this. Blah, 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 blah. Right? We just want to give because we want to provide so much value. So it's coming from a good place. It's coming from good intention, right? But good intention can harm people, and that's what's happening. What's happening is from the members' point of view, they log in, they're like, oh shit, okay, here's this course, here's this, oh man, and then there's this challenge, and then there's this community, and there's this chat room, oh my gosh, oh shit, like, okay, I don't have time for this right now. You know what? I don't want to keep paying for this and not use it, so let me just cancel, and I'll come back later. That is what's happening, okay? So how do you prevent this? So that's why I said, that's why I thought of this this analogy here, right? The Super Mario one. Because what happened was my dad never ever got into Super Mario because it was too hard for him. I mean, even though it's not hard. It's just that's just how users are, right? Like if you're trying to get people to like go to the gym, eat right, follow your process, watch your less like online course, do the homework, like it's like pulling teeth. It's so hard to get people to do that shit, right? But somehow Super Mario has figured out how to get millions of kids to do it. How did they do it? Well, they did it without telling you that they're doing it. Here, I think it'll be easier if I show you example. So I was watching this video. Like for example, right? Like if you see over here. So here, because it's like because this thing is flashing here with the question mark, it makes you wanna it makes you wanna yeah, I'm just reading the chat to see if I can. Sorry. So what it does is like it makes you want to click it, right? And when you do it, the mushroom comes out. But you see how you see this space right here? It's like not very high, right? It's kind of tight. So it's hard to kind of dodge it. Like so when it forces you to like actually bump into the mushroom, and that's when they learn, oh, okay, when I hit a mushroom, I actually get bigger, right? There's another section here where okay, here. In this section, yeah, the subtitle tell you, like, look at this. You saw that? So that part of the thing, like you can't pass that section unless you hit B and then do like a super jump or something like that. That's like the only way you can pass that. So in order to pass that section, you actually have to learn how to super jump, right? So do you see what I'm talking about? So the game designer is subconsciously teaching you shit while you're playing the game at every level, right? That's why by the time you get to like level 5, okay, like now you're comfortable with this type of game even though you've never played it before. Does that make sense? So your membership and your online course, your whatever you're delivering, the shit that they don't want to do, it has to feel the same way. It has to feel like, oh, it's that first thing. So put it simply, this is what it needs to happen. As soon as somebody joins, you have to get them to do a task that is so simple that they can do it in 10 minutes. Okay? And they cannot do it. Like once they buy, boom, log in, there's nothing else they can do except this thing. 10 minutes. That takes 10 minutes. Let them do that thing first. And the thing that they're gonna do has to teach them something. Not something like huge, but something very basic, right? And what it's gonna do is it's gonna give them a little bit of sense of accomplishment. Like, oh, okay, I just did this. Okay, cool, right? And then you give them a little more, and then you give them a little more. So you have to design your course and you have to design your membership, kind of like how Super Mario designed their game, right? Yeah. So for example, one of the ways we're doing it is as soon as member joins, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna give him instruction for day 1 challenge, which is write down, think about 5 different locations throughout your life, like whether your childhood home, your high school, you know, your first job, whatever. Like think about 5 main locations of your life and write down 3 memories for each location. Easy, right? And then I'm going to show them how to, now that they have 15, where to write it in story bank. So I'm showing that, right? So it's a very simple and easy thing that they can boom do right away. Something like that, right? Okay. So that's kind of how, that is the idea of this the carousel that I want to make, right? So how am I going to do that? Let's see. I have no idea. It's just like a seed of an idea. So let's see where I can take this, right? So I might say, so the idea is this, right? Why people are leaving your membership. Why people are leaving your membership. I mean, I guess the myth is most people, you know, one of the things that we do in Night Owl Nation is for every idea, every story we have, we ask these 2 questions. What other story does this remind you of? And what are the 2 sides of the story, right? So in this case, the 2 sides of the story is this. Side 1. I want to give my students as much value as possible. Side 2. Your students are leaving because they're overwhelmed. Like something like that, right? So that is the 2 sides of the story, right? So here maybe I might do something like most people think more content means more value. Something like that. You know what? Actually, I might not go with that route. You know what? Actually, I should lay it out so that you can see my thought process why I'm doing it this way. The reason why I don't think I'm gonna do this. The reason why I think I'm not gonna focus on this, because I was gonna say more. Because remember, like when I do carousels, I always do myth, truth, like myth, example, truth, right? Like myth. Most people think more content means more value. Example. When you have to take your driver's ed course, would you want to finish it in 6 hours or 30 hours? Well, that's a rhetorical question. Of course, 6 hours, right? Truth. You provide more value when you save them time, not give them more content. Something like that, right? That is the kind of idea, right? Okay, actually, you know what? This could work. So here's the thing, right? Usually, this is where I would leave it. My conclusion is that, hey, stop giving more shit, right? But I actually have a little bit more specific, answer than that. So I think what I'm gonna do is, so most people think content means more value. You know what, guys? This is actually a really good opportunity for anyone watching. All right, listen up, pay attention. Because this is kind of what happens. So I kind of have two competing ideas here. These two ideas are very, very, very related, but they're competing here, okay? On one hand, I want to focus on talking about how less is more. Why giving more content, more lessons, more video, right? More PDFs. Why that's actually worse, right? Because if you can somehow teach the same thing with less information, that's better, right? So that's one concept. The second, which I actually think is a fucking dope ass concept, right? I think this carousel will do well too. Like I think it'll be helpful. But this other concept that I'm trying to talk about is, okay, let's say for the people who already know that, people who already know that they're overwhelming, or maybe like they don't know that, but they don't know that that's the problem, but they know that their students are overwhelmed or something like that, right? Then for this person, the message here is something like, hey, this is how you can actually get people to not get overwhelmed, right? The reason why people are not finishing your course is because so maybe the example is like, okay, here, I'll write it down. So this is the other myth example. Most people think more content means more value. Example. This is when I say example, it's actually a counter example because the example should prove the myth wrong. So the counter example is, imagine you've never played Super Mario and I drop you on level 10. You would get overwhelmed and not even bother trying. That's why Nintendo designed the game, designed level 1 of the game to teach you how to play the game. And then the next slide, here, I might have a slide with example of how to jump, and another slide, example of how to eat mushroom. Slide, example of how to super jump, right? And then, like, if you want to reduce churn, okay, I don't know the final line. Okay, but let's take a pause here for a second and then let's talk about it, because I'm sure you guys have fucking a lot of questions and you're confused as fuck. Okay, let's see. You not only save time but reduce confusion. Make sure you. I didn't catch the second idea. Well, need buying extra power ups to win at all. Okay. So here's the second idea, right? So the first idea is about, hey, imagine you had to take a driving course that's going to teach you how to drive, which at the end you're going to get your license after you take this course. One course takes 6 hours. The other course takes 30 hours. Which one is more valuable? Which one would you pay more for? Of course, the 6 hours, right? But most course creators think that, oh, if I give 30 hours, then it's more valuable, right? They think that giving more content is actually more valuable. But what you're actually doing is you're wasting their time, right? So what's more valuable is not more videos. What's more valuable is their time. Okay? That's idea number one. Idea number two is similar. You're overwhelming them both. But on here, what I'm saying is, imagine you drop a member on level 10 of Super Mario, and they don't know how to jump, they don't know how to super jump, they don't know what mushrooms do, they don't know what turtle shells do, they don't know any of that. But you just drop him. He's gonna be so overwhelmed. He's gonna be like, boop, die, boop, die. As soon as he starts, die, and it's just not gonna be fun. So he's just gonna leave. That's why Super Mario designed in a certain way. So it'll only teach you how to jump. It'll only teach you how to eat mushroom. It'll only teach you how to super jump. It teaches these basic things as you go. You don't need to master the game yet. I'm not trying to get you to master the game. I'm just trying to teach you how to jump. That's all. I'm just trying to teach you how to do this. So baby steps, right? Baby steps is how you get people actually hooked on the game. So if you want your members to stay, design your members process where each step teaches you how to use the membership. Does that make sense? Put in the chat if it makes sense. And be brutally honest. If I confuse the shit out of you, also put in the chat. Okay. Here's why this is important, guys. These are two similar ideas that are slightly different. So one has to do with value means time. This one has to do with, if you want people to adapt a new habit, you have to take baby steps or something like that, right? So the lesson is different, but it's for the same problem. Like why people are leaving, right? Therefore, my ego, right? Sun's ego in here, deep in here, this fucking dark side of me is going like, oh my gosh, somehow I need to combine this two and make it work. Somehow I need to give them all the information, because if I just talk about the Super Mario thing, I know people are gonna comment and be like, oh yeah, it's because the real time is value, and they're gonna start talking about this time shit. And I don't want people to think that I didn't know about that already. So because this is so important, I need to add all of that in. I need to put it in there. That's my ego talking, right? We gotta throw away that ego and we have to fucking make a cruel, harsh decision and be like, boom, no. We're gonna separate these two, right? So to me, this is a brand new carousel. It's value, content isn't value, time is value, or something like that, right? And I'm gonna save this for another day. I'm gonna save this for another, and then for today, I'm only gonna focus on this. Does that make sense, guys? So second one, practical learning by doing. Explain each step teaches you how to use the memory. Yeah. So I think the main difference is that on the first idea, the main idea of the first one is that value doesn't come from more content. The value doesn't come from more information. Value actually comes from less information, because less information means you save them time, because time is the real value. You're not selling information, you're selling time, right? So if teacher one can teach you how to use Photoshop in 10 hours, and I can teach you the same thing in 1 hour, who's more valuable? The 10 hours of information or 1 hour of information? Obviously the 1 hour of information, right? So that is the concept that I'm talking about here, that how the real value comes from time, not from content. What I'm talking about here is like I said, the concept of baby steps. The reason why they're also over, so it's kind of related, because how do you prevent this? How do you prevent overwhelming them with too much content? Well, you tighten it and you design the portal almost like Super Mario in a way they take baby steps. That's how you do it, right? So that's why these two are kind of similar but separate. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. So I'm going to separate the two. And so today, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work on the Super Mario one. Okay? If we have time, we'll work on this one too. But let's focus on this one. Okay, we have a question here, Sam. I have a question. I've seen this done, but because we've seen people take minimum 3 weeks, for example. So if you say you teach 1 hour or 1 day, I won't trust. Yeah, that's a completely different problem altogether. Like if somebody. So here's the thing. Here's the prerequisite, guys. The prerequisite is your stuff has to work. If you create a course and people take it, it has to do what you promised. If you join a membership and people take it, it has to do what it promised. So it doesn't matter whether you say it's going to take an hour or 10 hours. If you promise a result and people got that result, nobody gives a shit. Does that make sense? If I go to a sales page and it says, I see 1,000 testimonials of 1,000 of your students, like showing their results. Do you think the fact that it says, oh, my course is only 1 hour, do you think I'm going to give a fuck about that? Do you think I'm going to give I wonder why this one is only 1 hour, even though that one is 10 hours. You think I'm going to give a fuck about that if I see proof that 1,000 people succeeded with this? No, nobody gives a shit. People only care about results. They don't care about they don't care about time. They don't care about, like, the thing that they care about is result. Once the result is there, then they care about everything. Then they care about how much it's going to be, how hard it's going to be, how fast it's going to be. Does that make sense? Okay. No, things only feel scammy if you try to scam people. Things never feel scammy when you're being completely honest. Right? Like, does Chanel selling a leather bag for $17,000, does that feel scammy? They're selling a bag that cost them $200 to make for $17,000. Does that feel scammy? No, right? Why not? The prerequisite is not having testimonials here. The prerequisite is your product working. I didn't say just cut down from 10 hours to 1 hour and that's it. You don't just fucking randomly cut 9 hours. Cutting from 10 hours to 1 hour is an enormous amount of work, because you know what you have to do? You have to look at the first hour of video and you have to go through with a fine comb and you have to be like, is this really needed for them to succeed? Is this really needed? Is this needed? And you just have to keep stripping. And then you get it down to the 10%, the meat, the only meat that they need to know. Step 1, do this. Step 2, open up Word doc. Step 3, write this. The stuff they need. Shrink it down, right? And you do that with the next hour, next hour, next hour, next hour. You combine that, and now you have 10 little 5 minutes combined into 1 hour. And now you got the most fucking efficient, high quality, the top of the line information jam packed into one fucking hour. That's what makes it valuable. It's not just take 9 hours hour. Here you go. That's not how it works. That's not how this thing works. Okay. It's why like in Night Owl Nation, I'm going through every fucking process and just like trying to fine tune it. Okay. I think that is premise. I have taken so many masterclass, mastermind, accelerator. None of this should work for any of the cohorts. Are they trying to teach someone else as a business? Let me give you a quick example, actually, and then I'll go right back to carousel. Here. This is what happens. This is the process that we're working on. When you join Night Owl Nation, day 1, they get an email to schedule an onboarding call. Okay? So as soon as they join, they don't get access to anything. The only thing they can do is schedule an onboarding call. And I'm gonna personally do an onboarding call every week for all new members that join that week. Right? And I'm gonna personally walk them through what they're gonna be doing in Night Owl Nation. Okay? And then they get a 7-day challenge where they can start working on, because think about it, when they pay to join, that's when their motivation is the highest. That's when they're going to do the most work. Every day that passes after that is every day where they're less likely to do the work. So on day 1, you have to give them a quick win. So that's why every day we're going to give them 15-minute tasks that they can have quick wins, right? And then only once they finish stage 1 with the onboarding call and this 7-day challenge, then they can move on to the next step, where we're going to personally add them into a small group, where small group leader is going to hold them accountable, right? And then all the way to stage 3, 12 weeks from sign up, they're going to have to post 5 carousels and give feedback. So the thing is, and we've thought of like every process, we've broken down in detail what people need to do. So I mean, that's just a quick preview, but every process in Night Owl Nation is efficiently designed to make you more engaged and stay. One of the things that I noticed is that when somebody joins a small group in Night Owl Nation, the chance that they're going to stay becomes significantly higher. And then, once they join a small group and they share a story in small group, once they share a story in small group, it's pretty, I'm 99% positive that that person will stay. So then my goal, I know, is my goal for every new member is I want them to join a small group, and I want them to share a story. Somehow I need to get every member to do that. Then 99% of them will stay. And that's my goal. Okay. Yeah, I know what you guys mean. I know what you mean by because as creators and educator business, and freelancers too, or I guess all entrepreneurs are kind of this. We have this insecurity of I don't want to come off too salesy. Oh, I don't want to come off too scammy. I don't want to come off I'm a snake oil salesman or something like that, right? The thing is, you're only gonna come off that way if you're trying to manipulate your audience, if you're trying to cheat your audience. But if that is not your intention, there's no way it's gonna come off that way. But like I said, I think this is similar to what I was saying earlier, right? Before about the authenticity. You can't do authenticity halfway, right? You can't do honesty 99% way. You have to do it 100%, right? So if I'm gonna market it like this, where, because I think this is what you're thinking. You're like, oh, all other creators will tell you the 10 hours and blah blah blah. For me, 7-minute abs. Get your abs done in 7 minutes or less, right? Here's the thing. If you say it like that, yeah, that sounds like a fucking scam. But imagine you say it like this. All the other creators, what they're trying to do is they're trying to give you this, blah, 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 give you hours and blah, blah, give you other, and they're trying to all get you to this like six-pack, but like model looking thing. Fuck that. You don't want to fucking look like a model. You just want to lose 15 pounds, right? That's all. You just want to lose 15 pounds, right? Well, you don't have to do all of that shit. I can make you lose 15 pounds in 7 minutes. Yeah, of course, if you want to like fucking get a six-pack and shit like that, yeah, you have to do all of that. But if you just want to lose 15 pounds, this is what you need, the 7-minute abs. And I'm going to show you how you do it. Here's 1,000 people who did it before and after. You see? Does that sound like scammy? Does that sound like scammy? No, it's because I'm fucking honest. It's because I've stated my weakness up front. Yeah, I said, if you want a six-pack, this 7-minute ab is not for you. I said it up front. So as long as you say up front who this is for and who it's not for, it does not sound scammy at all. It only sounds scammy if you're actually trying to scam. This is why I'm never fucking insecure about selling. Because I'm proud of what I sell. I know I provide 10 times more value to my customers than what they pay me. So as long as I'm like that, I will never, ever, ever fucking feel like a scam. Does that make sense? Sorry. That was my rant of the day. Yeah, if there's no testimonials, then you have to get it, right? That's the thing. If there's no testimonials, then you're too early in the game. You haven't done your groundwork yet, right? So your next step, if you don't have testimonials yet or case studies, your next step is to collect testimonials and case studies. Not to get to $1 million, right? Your first step is to collect case studies and testimonials, proof, undeniable proof that your service works. First step. Once you have that undeniable proof, second step, get your first set of clients, paying clients with that undeniable proof. And then next step, raise price. Boom. And then you get to 7-figure, and then you get to 8-figure. This is how business works. Don't try to get here when you don't have undeniable proof yet. You don't have a product or service unless you have an undeniable proof right now. Okay? And that's fine. There's nothing, you can build in public. As long as you're transparent about it. When I first started Night Owl Nation, I charged people $5. I didn't even have a fucking platform. Okay? I just sent out a Zoom link and I just fucking, you know what I mean? But I told them up front, hey, the reason why I'm only charging $5 is because this is fucking messy as fuck. I'm still figuring it out. And even with my current Night Owl Nation members, I tell them, I try to show up as much. You know how many hours I spend to try to show up, like to answer questions and things like that? Like, the reason why is because I know that I'm still in the building. I'm still in the building undeniable proof stage. So you can still sell at the undeniable proof stage. You just have to be honest. 100% honest, not 99% honest. If you go to a client, you have to say this. Hey, normally I would charge $15,000 for this, but because I'm building, I just got out of my 9-to-5 job. I'm trying to build this freelance business. And I know I'm just as good as these guys. But because I'm trying to build my portfolio, I can do it for you for $5,000. But just know that you're getting the $15,000 value. I'm gonna do it in exchange so I'm gonna blow you away so you'll give me a good testimonial. Is that okay with you? So you can do it as long as you're honest. Don't fucking hide shit. When I say honest, be brutally honest. Don't try to hide anything. Be 100% honest. Because when you're 100% honest, the marketing actually works. You know when it doesn't work? When you're 99% honest. That's when marketing doesn't work. You have to be 100% honest, including all the bad stuff. Okay. I'm really done now, my rant. Okay, let's see here. So let's just go right into the carousels. Because I think I know I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna go the copy is gonna follow something similar to this, what I have here. So let's move on, right? Let's see where this goes. So just like last week, I'm gonna take a copy. Where's my carousel from last week? Oh, hey guys, look at this. I actually had a carousel like this. How to sell your expertise. We think more hours means more value. But check this out. Everything you know can be learned on Google for free. If they had 1,000 hours to spend, they pay you to learn it for less. 2-hour course is far more valuable than a 20-hour course if you can deliver the same results. You're not selling knowledge, you're selling time. So this is that idea number 1, right? Okay, let's do idea number 2 now. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Why people leave your membership. This is something I'm going to think about a little bit, but I'll come back to it. But this is probably not going to be my final hook. Because the reason why is because I think this also applies to course creators, not just membership. That's why I don't want to like narrow down the audience just by calling it membership. Like this is why people leave your I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So maybe here I might start with number 1 reason why people leave membership is overwhelmed. Something like that. You know what? I'm not even going to say the myth. I don't know if you noticed this, but if you look at some of my carousels, like, for example, okay, that one does have a myth. That one has a myth too. I have a lot of carousels where I don't actually flat out say what the myth is. You know what I mean? Let's see if this one is. Oh, that one has a myth. See, like when you try to find it, you can't find it. Yeah, like this one is kind of like that, right? I go right into the example, like slide 1, right into the example. I don't state the myth because I think sometimes it's unnecessary. People already know what the myth. Like as soon as you give the example, people already know what the myth is. So I'll do this. I'll do something like this. When Nintendo first came out with Super Mario World, they had a problem. Most people didn't have most people weren't familiar with these type of game. So they had to be taught how to play them. I know right now I'm writing it very long. It's okay. I'm gonna fix it. Don't worry. Yeah, you don't have to. See, the thing is, the myth, example, truth. Just like that. Think of that as training wheel. Like every framework is just the training wheels. You only need it in the beginning to practice, but once you've mastered it, you don't need to follow the framework every time. Does that make sense? I don't want you to always rely on frameworks. I don't want you to always rely on training wheels. At some point, you just kind of have to free ride. You have to come up with your own way. You know what I mean? Oh, you're working on carousel too. Nice. Okay. Most people weren't familiar with these type of games, so they had to be taught how to play. So now that's where I'm gonna add this guy, right? So game designer, came up with an idea. He designed the game in a way that'll teach you how to play the game as you progress. So as soon as I say this, remember like the whole thing about I talked about like a couple weeks ago, anticipation? Like the best copywriting is when you can anticipate what they're already thinking and say it, right? So when at this slide, he designed the game in a way that'll teach you how to play the game as you progress. People are gonna be like, "Oh, that's cool," but what does that really mean, right? Like, what does that mean? So then I'm gonna say, for example, and I'm just gonna leave it like that. The reason why I'm not gonna actually go into the example and say only example is because number one, I want them to voluntarily number one swipe. Because what that does is subconsciously, I got a buy-in from them. So people are much more likely to take action and do things if it was their idea. Not if it was my idea suggesting them, but if it came from them. Do you know what I mean? So every time you have an opportunity to get buy-in from a customer, you should try to do that, right? So here, that's kind of what I'm doing, right? Oh, he designed the game such a way, because that's when people are like, oh, what do you mean by that? And then when I say, for example, they're like, oh shit, like, oh, this is exactly what I was thinking, and here it is, right? Now I got him excited. Okay, now can I get a buy-in? Can I get a buy-in from you? Can you swipe? Right? Okay, and then swipe, and then I'm going to answer. Does that make sense? It's the same thing with email opt-ins. On your website, if a pop-up just automatically pops up on you, right? And then you're like, you don't want to sign up or something like that, right? Or like you didn't want to sign up and then pop up and you're like, oh, okay, it's interesting, you signed up. Versus there's an actual button that says, yes, I want it. And when you click on it and then pops up and you opt in, the value of this email is night and day difference from the person who didn't voluntarily click that button. So psychologically, every time you can trigger somebody to, get a buy-in, do that. Comes from because now it's their idea, Okay, so here I might say, for example, here the only thing you can do is jump. Don't ask me how I came up with this. Okay, do ask me. Okay, yes, I want you to ask me because that's the whole point of these live streams. Here's the thing. Every time I want to show an example, I want to show, not tell, right? I was watching this YouTube video from Johnny Harris where he was doing a YouTube video about the inflation, about the hyperinflation in Venezuela, and how most news coverage cover it is they would go to the border in Venezuela and they would talk to the people and they would show like some stock symbols and blah blah blah. That's how they do it. But what Johnny Harris did was he went to a market and then he showed this woman in the street selling these handmade purses that are made out of currency. And he thought that showing that would draw a much better picture of the story, right? Something like that, right? So every time I'm trying to convey an idea across, in my mind, I'm picturing, is there an image where if I just saw this image, I'll get it right away, right? If you can, that's the best way to go. Okay? Now, if you can't find an image like that, then the next thing I'll do is there an image that I can use where I just need minimum explanation, very minimum explanation, and people will get it, right? That's the next thing I'm going to think, right? So for example, if you see here, that's what I did here, right? Like I show the journal of him like studying flowers and things like that and then I put the copy that says, but being a chemist gave him ability to create colors no one else can. And then I showed this part of the image, being a biologist through it. So with minimum text, I can get the point across. That's the next thing I want to do, right? So that's what I'm going to try to do here. And the idea that I came up with is this. And I think if you've just been doing this long enough, it just comes to you. It doesn't even require that much work. Because I think I've done something like similar to this before, probably in another project for another client or something like that. But here, what I want to show is, here's an example. I'll just show this example and then I'll get to the chat. Remember here, I showed you that in this part, you cannot pass this part without learning how to super jump, right? So the requirement to pass this part is that you have to do a super jump. So what I would do is I would show this. Right? Like I would show this. And then once he gets out, I would loop. Loop. You see what I mean? Loop. Okay. The reason why I want to loop there is because on this slide, this is what I picture in my head. Here's the only thing you can do to jump. Here, the only thing you can do is super jump, right? And then here, basically, I'm gonna show somebody trying to super jump. And then the next slide, I might do like here, the only thing you can do is boom. So I'm gonna show 3 examples like that here. That's my idea. Okay, let me read the chat now. Okay. Yeah, news channels do it best. Present 2 statements and the viewer connects. Oh, I know what happened. Yeah. Yeah, news channels, especially cable news channels, are fucking masters at this, right? They've like mastered this game. And even news articles do that. Like for example, you know that like if you're reading an article that talks about unemployment rate, right? The high unemployment rate right now, and the article goes into why there's unemployment, blah, blah. But in the middle of the article, there's another box, another promo that says, "Hey, you might also be interested in reading about is AI taking over people's jobs?" Right? Something like that. Now, when you do that, that article says nothing about the actual article says nothing about AI. The reason why the unemployment is happening is because this fucking dumbass company's overhired, and now their fucking their profit is not hitting target, so they're laying people out. They're just fixing their own mistakes. It has nothing to do with AI. That's what the article is about. But by adding that little box, what happens with people is like, oh, AI must have something to do with the unemployment. They connect those dots in their mind. That's how fucking stupid we are, you know? The news ones seem unethical, though. How can we make them feel like it's their idea? They thought of it, though, ethically speaking. Yeah. Yeah. Here's the thing, right? Ethics is just the average. Ethics is just what the mass thinks is moral. And you're gonna if you're religious, you'll probably disagree with me. But to me, like obviously, if you're religious, ethics come from God. Okay? Like God tells you what's right and wrong. But for me, I believe that everybody has their own moral judgment on what they believe is right or wrong. And the collectively, if majority of people says, oh, like killing somebody is wrong, then ethically that's how ethics works. Now, everything that we do marketing is manipulation. Everything that we do in communication is manipulation. You might say, no, it could be persuasion. What's the difference? Honestly, tell me. What is the difference between persuasion and manipulation? Right? Like, what if I said, oh, I persuaded you to do this for your own good because I was trying to help you. But how the fuck do you know what will help me? How do you know what I want? Right? So ultimately, even if it's coming from good intention, you can't definitively say one is persuasion and one is manipulation. Every time you convince somebody to do something they weren't gonna do originally without your interruption, that is manipulation. So all form of marketing is manipulation. All form of sales is manipulation. All form of communication is manipulation. At the end of the day, it's a battle of ideas. It's a battle of, hey, I believe that this is good for you, and I'm going to manipulate you into doing it. Those other people are going to also try to manipulate and say, hey, no, Sun's way is wrong. My way is right. They're going to also try to manipulate. Whoever can manipulate you better is going to win. Now, imagine that guy's intention was they're just going to take money from you. He doesn't give a fuck about your success. And I actually did. But I suck at storytelling. I suck at manipulating people. That's why I lost you to him. Then what? Right? So you have a right. You have a not a right. If you believe your ideas are right, then you have a duty to learn how to manipulate people. That sounded wrong. Yeah. It is, really. It is. Every time we open our mouth, it is to try to convince somebody to change their behavior. It is to try to, like, get somebody, like, when I'm driving down the highway and Gigi's like, hey, do you need to go to the bathroom? Well, the reason why she said that is because she want to convince me to stop and exit, and so we can use the restroom. But she doesn't want the idea to come from her. So that's why she said it like that, right? Well, that's manipulation. I'll happily fall for the like, you know what I mean? Dude, I just wrote 10 slides about why your clients stop coming back. Dude, Gloria, you should be doing this. Fuck. You already finished? I'm not even like halfway done. My biggest fear is me coming off super bitchy. You'll self-correct. So don't worry about that. So I posted on Threads today this. I posted on Threads, like, the reason why I'm harsh in my content is because I know my audience can't handle it. Like, if you can't handle it, that means you're probably not my audience, right? Because I am gonna say things pretty directly, right? So yeah, don't worry about that. And if you do come off too bitchy, give it a few days and then see how you feel about it. Because it's hard to tell at the moment, but after a couple days, you look back, you think about it, then you'll be like, oh, okay, that was a little bit over the line. I need to dial it back a little bit. Or it's like, oh, actually, no, that was because sometimes, like, I'll post something that's a little bit harsh and I get fucking attacked. And I'm like, oh, shit, did I go over the line? Did I just go too far? But then a few days later, I go back and I read the comments. And I'm like, no, I didn't. No, it's fine. Something like that. Can you show an example of it, actually, so we feel like it's our idea, but your presentation skills? Yeah. That's a good idea, actually. That's actually a really good idea. Actually, maybe I should do that. In this carousel, it's going to be a little hard. Let's see. So what I'm going to do is here, let me see if there's another Super Mario Bros. 1-1. Yeah, so here what I might do is like I might show footage of this. So I might show that loop right here. So basically here what I would do is for the examples, I would have a loop. So imagine like maybe it's easier if I show it visually. Imagine like something like this, right? And it's a video. Imagine this is a video. And it's just like this guy hitting and the mushroom, and then he keeps getting hit by the mushrooms over and over and over, right? So because it's on repeat, then I can say something. Either I can add a caption here that says, imagine this background is a video that says something like, this, you're forced to run into the mushroom because of tight space, right? So maybe I'll do something like this here. Maybe this makes more sense. Okay. So he designed each game that'll teach you how to play the game as you progress. For example, in level 1, you're forced to run into the mushroom because of the tight space. So it forces you to learn about mushrooms, right? And then I'm going to do another one here where here it forces you, here you can, like here I'm going to show maybe this part. So here I might do something like, so I might show this one, this screenshot here. But remember, these are all going to be videos. So they're actually going to be moving. So you see, so you're going to actually see Super Mario like stuck here, right? So it's like very, so it's obvious. Here, you can only move forward if you learn how to super jump, something like that. So it forces you to learn how to super jump. And then maybe, like I might do one more. Like I might do one more example. And then the final message could be like, design, if you want your members to get hooked, design it by teaching them how to use the membership. I don't like that copy, but like it's a placeholder for now. Okay, this is a fucking long ass carousel. It's definitely more than 10 slides. But let's look at the flow and then let's rewrite. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. Let's stick with just membership. Forget about online courses. Because So it's gonna be viewed by less people, but I think it's gonna be much more targeted audience. You know? It's just an obscure. I've never played it, so it doesn't relate. Yeah, I know. It's like that Lucy, that's gonna be the hardest part. Like for example, right? Super Mario Bros. Learning super jump. Okay, Lucy, maybe you can answer this. Do you see the screen here? Okay. I'm gonna play for a few seconds, and you let me know what in your eyes, like what does it look like is happening? Do you see that? Okay, I'm gonna play again. Okay. Did you see that, Lucy? So what do you think is happening there? I'm really curious because I want to know if that's like way too abstract or it's. I'll play one more time. Basically, what's happening there is Super Mario is stuck here, right? And with a normal jump, he cannot get out of that. The only way he can get out of it is by using the super jump. Therefore, this part forces you to learn how to super jump because otherwise you can't get out of it. So I need to, yeah, I need to somehow show that where he's stuck and then he gets out. And then I need to write this right copy that shows that. So maybe something like, you know, here, you're stuck until you learn how to super jump by pressing A plus B at the same time. Something like that. Right? And then it's gonna be it's gonna be a video of him like gets stuck and then gets out. Stuck, gets out, right? Something like that. I think it'll work. I mean, I'm just because like I'm a designer. Like what I'm doing is I'm always trying to like picture what the final product looks like, and in my mind it works. I don't know if it. I don't know. Yeah, yeah. I think the text is gonna have to do a lot of the work, heavy lifting here. You know. Okay. So let's look at it again. Why people leave your membership? When Nintendo first launched, what's the official name? Super Mario Bros. Super Mario Bros. They had a problem. when Nintendo was designing Super Mario, they had a problem. Never saw a game like this, so they didn't know how to play it. You got the player hooked. In the first. Is that move needed to go to second level? Because that's where I haven't played that game in so long. I don't even know actually. I wouldn't even remember. I want to say something like this, like, now imagine you drop someone in the middle of level 10 without knowing all the basics. They would just quit the game. That's what your members are doing. They leave because they're overwhelmed. Show them how to show them the basics. In baby steps in the beginning. So they'll be hooked. Like players. I think not everyone will understand the content. Yeah, that's the thing. One of the decisions you have to make with your content, this is actually important. Okay, this is actually important. So there are people who's going to resonate with certain content that I talk about, like something like this, right? When I talk about churn rate, retention, and membership, there's a small percentage of people out there who owns membership that will get it. The rest of the people will have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about, right? Or they won't care. So what's going to happen is this posts like this don't go viral. Posts like this will not perform very well. But it'll get reach with the right people. Does that make sense? So what you need to do, but if I actually dumb down this even too much, then it's not going to resonate with the right people. So every time you make a content, this is what I need you to do. Make a decision. Is this piece of content for new audience, strangers, mainstream audience? Or is this piece of content for the specific niche audience that are already following you? Right? And they're different. That's why like some of the content that I put, I think is very elementary. Like I'm not interested in at all personally. But it's the thing that reaches the strangers in mainstream content, right? That's why I do it. And yeah, you really have to be completely detached with what type of content you're putting out. Like meaning, is it expert level? Is it elementary level? Who cares? You should be putting out the content that is the most useful to the most people. Who the fuck cares if it's expertise or like that's just you. You care. Right? So to the audience, like you really need to think about what is the most useful content for the audience, and I'll put that. Yeah. So yeah, for every piece of content, think: is this for mainstream? Is this for new audience, stranger, or is this for my people? You know, if people play game, they usually play Super Mario and Yeah, I think it'll work. I think the Super Mario will work. Can never make good content for everyone, and even if it doesn't, here's the thing. You know what? Because this is gonna take me some time to finish it. So I'm gonna leave it here. But I think you guys kind of know how I landed at here. So when you see the final carousel later this week, I think you'll see like my thinking process, right? So I'll leave it here. So we can just hang out for the rest of the stream. Because here's what I want to say. Oh yeah. So here's what I want to say. I'm thinking right now. I'm thinking the same thing. Is this concept too niche? And also, secondly, is it too? Am I trying to be too clever? Am I trying to be too clever about trying to use the Super Mario analogy? And then also, like, is it even gonna work visually? Is it even gonna work, or is it just gonna confuse the shit out of people? Right? All of those thoughts are also going through my head, and here's what I think. One, I want to do it anyway because I like it. I think it's dope, right? So if I think it's dope, then there are going to be people out there who also think it's dope. And the few people out there who also think it's dope are probably my people. There's going to be people out there. Most people are not going to care about this carousel, but then there's going to be people out there that goes through this carousel and go like, holy shit, damn, this is fucking, I never thought of it that way, or something like that, right? Well, that's my people, right? So that's number one. Number two, I might post this and it might not have been so clear, right? So it confused people or something like that. Well, great. Now I have a chance to improve it and post it again, right? I'm going to learn from my mistakes. What were people confused about? What didn't they get? Okay, let me fix those and let me redo it, right? And then it was better, but not as good. Okay, let me do it again, and let me do it again, right? I'm going to repost this over and over until I get it. And ultimately, what I'm going to end up with, like after reposting a few times, is going to be a very simple, clear carousel that almost everyone can understand, but it also delivers my powerful idea, which is, and most of the times, it's not going to do well the first time, but through redesigning it a few times, once it gets to that, Then it becomes something like this. Here, watch this. Um, then it becomes like this, right? You see this carousel right here? This is one of those carousels. Like that I think is like I think it's dope. I don't think most people are gonna get it. But I kept designing it and I kept rewriting it and I kept retelling the story and I finally figured it out, right? And once I finally figured it out, I think, I think it became dope. So that's part of the process, Like I guess that's what I want to say. Okay, let me see. Hey Sandra, no worries. Yeah, that makes sense. Picture would help. Sometimes the function and context are unknown, so that's okay, I guess. But sometimes the functions and context are unknown. No, that's not okay. I need to make sure when somebody goes through this carousel, even if they've never played Super Mario before, I want them to get it. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, it's not a universal example. The whole point of using an example to prove your point, like if they don't understand the example, then your example didn't work. So I have to do this in a way where even if they've never played Super Mario before, they still have to get it. You know? Okay, son, did you do the thing where we think it's our idea yet? Or did I miss it? Yeah, no, so let me just cover that real quick. When I say like when you think it's your idea, what I mean is this. This is what I meant. When somebody gets to here, right? So game designer Shigeru Miyamoto came up with an idea. He designed the game in a way that'll teach you how to play the game as you progress. And at this point, people in their mind, they're thinking like, "Oh shit, what do you mean? Like, can you give an example?" Like that's what they're thinking, right? So what I need to do is I need to anticipate that they're going to think that and then throw them this line, for example. But stop there. The reason why I stopped there and I didn't actually write anything else is because at this point, I want them to swipe. I want them to first admit that I want them to feel surprised, pleasantly surprised, because it's like, oh shit, I wanted to see an example. Swipe, or for example, it's like, oh shit, he read my mind. So I want them to be pleasantly surprised, and then I want them to, once they're pleasantly surprised, I want them to swipe, right? And the reason why I want them to swipe is because now they're saying, okay, now I want it. Give it to me, right? That's the buy-in. Now, because they say they want it, they're more likely to agree with it. Do you know what I mean? That people are more likely to agree with the ideas if they bought into it or something like that. Yeah. I hope that was I hope that makes sense. Okay, Sandra. Yes, and I was thinking about our questions about not knowing everything. Sun said before that this is the sign of a person who knows things as ignorant people don't doubt themselves. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, yeah. I think you got the gist of it, Sandra. It's not as 9K likes. No, that's what I mean. Like that post did well. I think because I've worked on it for a while over time. Yeah. But I'll you know what? I'll end the live stream here. On the topic of not knowing everything, right? And kind of is doubting yourself a good thing? Yes. I think a healthy amount of imposter syndrome is good. And though, so I think it's important for you to understand that you always have things to learn. And though your confidence should not be tied to any of that. Okay, I'll end it here. Maybe this is my last message for you. Your confidence and your sense of kind of self-worth cannot be conditional to anything. Like, I feel insecure because I don't know as much as this person. I feel insecure because I'm not pretty. I feel insecure because I'm fat. I feel insecure because I'm uneducated. I feel insecure because once I'm a 100 millionaire, then I'll be more confident. I feel insecure because I'm broke. No. Like, it cannot be tied to any conditions. If you truly want confidence, like authentic, that 100% level confidence, it cannot be tied to any conditions. If today you lost all of your college degrees, all of your friends, all of your money, you're homeless, living in the street, and everyone in the world hates you. When you've lost everything, at that point, if your confidence is shaking, then that's not confidence. That is just your ego getting validated. That's all that is. That means you were only confident because, well, okay, here. Think of it this way. A good example is this. Do your parents, do your family love you because of your degree, because of how much money you have, because what car you drive, because of how much knowledge you have, because you didn't know that, because you're not as an expert as this? Do they love you conditionally? No. They love you unconditionally. That's what I mean by your real self-worth. No matter what condition you're in, you need to have the same amount of self-worth, self-love, self-confidence. Otherwise, it's not real. Now, having said that, it shouldn't matter, right? Whether you have gaps, whether it doesn't matter, right? Now, because people love you for you. People follow you for you. Not because you are putting this content that helps me, blah, blah, blah. No. You want them to follow you for you, right? Whether you're, doesn't matter what content you make. If you talk about something you enjoy, they would also enjoy it because they love you. Okay, our vibe will attract their tribe. Yes. Text and video combo makes it more interesting, engaging, plus the memorization. Yeah, I actually think that having the video, because videos are kind of rare in carousels, I think that alone will kind of catch people's attention. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for coming. If you're on YouTube right now, hit subscribe, like. If you can leave a comment and just kind of give feedback on what kind of stuff you want to see, what you like, what you don't like, that'll be really helpful too. Otherwise, I'm gonna see you on Thursday again. On Thursday, I'm gonna talk a little bit more about Night Owl Nation. So come back. I'll see you on Thursday. Have a great rest of Monday. Peace out, everyone. Cheers, everyone. Bye, Sandra. Bye, Kunden. Bye, Lara. Bye, Sam. Bye, great Gloria. See you all next week. Cheers.